in their holiday white. And so I hope you will come out and be here with us at that time. We have a guest Cantor tonight. Welcome, Cantor Schwartz. It's very nice to have you back with us. And of course, thank you to Rabbi Mark and to our techies, Phil Carey, David Youngman, and of course, my terrific husband, Chris Jastrock. Shabbat Shalom to you all.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you very much, Dina, for sharing all that exciting news. For those of you who may not be joining us for the Slichot service next Saturday, it will be streamed. The service will be streamed on our YouTube channel, so you can feel free to catch us live or in our virtual space as well. Not only is our Cantor out, but Dr. Ray Irwin is also out as he's celebrating the first of 2 wedding parties for his daughter, one here and one in Europe, somewhere in France, I think, or maybe England, I'm not sure. So we'll just, somewhere in Europe, where her husband is from, they will be celebrating 2 wedding ceremonies, having a wonderful opportunity to extend our mazel tov to Ray, Cecilia, and all of their family. In addition to our flowers, we have Shabbat greetings. Thank you all for your continued support of our Shabbat greetings program. Ted and Noel Singer, Rita and Rob Rubin, and Jeff and Wilma Shear. I wish to acknowledge that Jeff is a past president of our congregation and also currently on our temple board. And so thank you all for your continued support of our Shabbat greetings. Tonight's service you will find both in the prayer book and on the screen behind me. The words will be the same. We begin our worship service on page 8. Page 8 in our prayer books, which you will find under the seat in front of you. No one ever sits in the front row, so you don't even have to bother looking under those. Oh no, Eileen is there. Good job. Brave Eileen. Thank you, Eileen. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no semantics, and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other and to work to make all of our lives better. To love God is to love the world that God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us, and to bring that vision to life. Our service continues on page 10. It's always a pleasure, especially coming off of our pandemic, when we are able to gather together, albeit wearing our masks and keeping some distance still. Nonetheless, it is wonderful when we are able to come together. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How wonderful it is when we come together as brothers and as sisters.
Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Hinei ma tov u'manayim שבת אחים גם יחד.
Perfect timing. May's family is not able to be with us, but they are watching on our YouTube channel, and so it is my pleasure and honor to invite our birthday girl, May Salinger, to help in the lighting of our Shabbat candles. May, if you will join us up here, please. As we turn in our prayer books to page 3. Let us read together. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Do it together. There we go. All right. Here. You're doing great. It's a candle that's not cooperating. Let's try this one. That's okay. There we go. Okay. So we do the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, source of all being, who calls us to holy acts through mitzvot and inspires us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של Shabbat.
101st birthday, May, doesn't happen to many of us. We are so grateful to be able to share with you in your 101st birthday. Not able to celebrate your 100th last year, let's do it great this year. And so for you, our certificate, God of days and years, author of life, we thank you for the blessings of life and for all that enriches our life. We gather to share in the happiness of May Salinger in celebration of her 101st birthday. May May be blessed with health and happiness and with the strength to overcome sickness and sorrow. With your presence at her side, may May be blessed to see her world in her lifetime. May May's heart act wisely, her lips speak wisdom, her tongue whisper songs. May her vision always be toward the future, her eyes shine with the light of Torah, and her face glow like the splendor of the heavens. May May be blessed with wholeness, contentment, peace, and above all, shalom. Signed by myself, our Cantor, our president, the 13th day of Elul, the 20th day of August. May, I'll bring this with you, and I will help you back to your seat. We will join together in the singing of our Shehechianu, our prayer of gratitude, our blessing of gratitude for May's life and for being able to celebrate with her 101 years.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.
You're welcome. There's more to come.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Amen.
Mazel tov, May. Later on in our service, I've got some special stuff to share both with May and with all of us about May. Our service continues on page 27. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a weathered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, less routine set my ways. We continue on page 146. Page 146 with the words of our Baruch Hu. I invite us to rise as we are able for our call to worship.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Continuing on page 147. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitfona meshonei etim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, b'mishmeroteham barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uvein layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. On page 148. In each age, we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment, we are addressed by the world. In each age, we are challenged by our ancient teaching. And at each moment, we stand face to face with the truth. In each age, we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment, the knowing heart is filled with wonder. In each age, the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
We may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Our service continues on page 151. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all. Yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abounds. Before our eyes there is a vision of perfection, of order, and of goodness. There is evil enough to break the heart, yet there is good enough to exalt the soul. When will redemption from that evil come? When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves. Long ago we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High. We learned that God's presence redeems time and event. And so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom.
Lai 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 lai. Hamocha ba'elim Adonai, hamocha nedav hakodesh, Jaffe. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, צאנו ויאמרו, צאנו ויאמרו, אדוני עמו לעולם הבא, אדוני lai 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 lai
On page 153, give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety, and in your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace over all that we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim.
Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomerenu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath your wing, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen, amen, amen.
If we truly think about Shabbat, it is a radical idea. It says to the higher-ups that they are not the ones who are in charge. Remember, this began with our people over 3,000 years ago. Days of leisure were not part of everyday existence. Us normal folks, we worked sun up to sundown until we died. That's what we did. It was the kings, the priests, who had days of leisure. We humans were beasts of burdens for the royalty. And along comes this little group of people who say, no, human beings are created in God's image. There is sanctity to everyone's life. And one day a week, 1/7 of our life, we're going to set aside and not do the usual doings that we do. Pharaohs, kings, queens, they didn't like that. Indeed, many ancient Egyptian historians wrote that we Jews were diseased, that we had to rest 1 day in 7. Greek writers recorded that it is because of a hip ailment from Jacob in that night wrestling. We have a genetic predisposition, a hip ailment that causes us to rest every 7 days, whereas everybody else was working 7 days a week. This is truly a radical idea. This is true rebellion. To say to the leaders, today, we're not working for you. Today, we're spending time on our own. We're spending time with our family, our tradition, our God. That's a radical thought. Of course, now in modern life, it's part of everyday experience, the weekend. But the weekend was a Jewish idea. It was our gift to the world and our gift to humanity. Let us find ways to create sacred space during this time. Let us abstain from doing what we usually do and instead do what we want to do. Not what we have to do, but what we would like to do so that we might be human beings instead of human doings. We continue on page 154 with Vashamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. היא ששת ימים, היא ששת ימים, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Our service continues with the words of our tefillah, prayers that challenge us to think about how we might fit into the chain of tradition, prayers that challenge us to envision how God might work through us in the world around us, prayers that challenge us to always be a source of holiness and blessing to those we encounter. Our service continues on page 155 and following. I invite us to rise as we are able.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש, שמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We may be seated. Our service continues on page 160. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day, and may all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. For the good in us which calls us to a better life. Page 163. For the good in us which calls us to a better life, we give thanks. For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and our hands, we offer praise. For the desire in us which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful. For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being. For all these things, O Sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Our service continues with our prayer for peace. Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Yatahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Yatahu melech adon lechol hashalom. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael. בכל לית ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
Shalom is such a beautiful word. It does not mean hello or goodbye. It means peace, wholeness, contentment. We know there are those in our presence, those members of our friends, our families, whose sense of shalom, whose sense of wholeness and well-being has been disturbed, perhaps even shattered by the challenges that they are facing. In a moment, we share a special prayer, a prayer called our Misha Berach, wherein we hope to include all those whose shalom has been disturbed. Misha Berach avotenu v'imotenu, may the one who blessed our ancestors bless all those who put themselves at risk to care for the sick, our physicians and nurses, orderlies, patient transporters, hospital cleaning staff, security guards, technicians, home health aides, EMTs, and pharmacists, all who navigate the unfolding dangers of the world each day to tend to those they've sworn to help. May they be blessed in their coming home and blessed in their going out. And may the sacred work of their hands be blessed, and may they bring strength and healing to those that they serve. We include those members of our congregation, their family and friends who are facing challenges to their health and their well-being. May the knowledge of your presence help ease their fear, sustain them, and give them strength. May the time come soon when they and when all of us can breathe without fear. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim, we praise you, O God, who helps us bring hope and healing to those who are in need. And let us say, Amen. As we begin our Misha Berach, I invite you, after the opening paragraph, Cantor, this may be a little new. We realize we didn't quite discuss that, but we want to share some names. Got it? Great. Off we go. I will invite you during the musical interlude between the paragraphs to share aloud the name of a loved one.
Misha Berach avotenu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Just as Shabbat gives us the opportunity to pause from our doings, so too during our worship service do we pause from our reading and our singing and our listening to words from outside, so that we might instead pause to listen to melodies from within. to listen to the words of our hearts and the song of our soul. And so we spend a moment in quiet meditation and reflection.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, ויון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי וגואלי. May the words of my mouth, the meditations of my heart be acceptable before you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer.
Cantor Schwartz, thank you so very much for being with us and sharing your musical talents and your beautiful voice. Thank you so very much. May, thank you for these beautiful flowers and for the beautiful oneg we will have a chance to nosh at afterwards. And Betty Maddock, thank you for sponsoring the virtual flowers, which our YouTube viewers are able to see. So for those of you, when you go home tonight, you want to replay the service tomorrow, you'll be able to also feast your eyes on those beautiful flowers in memory of members of your family, Betty. And our heart does go out to you. 101 years. You know, we can't let this moment go by without special acknowledgement and recognition of May. You have set the bar high for all of us in so many ways. My parents, when I told them tonight we're celebrating your 101st, first of all, they didn't believe you were that old. And second of all, they just say, wow, you know, so you go, girl. They are in Florida. They'll be with us for Yom Kippur, so hopefully they'll have a chance to greet you personally then as well. As many of you know, in the past, I have tried to indicate May's influence not only on our community, but indeed on the world by digging through the archives and finding appropriate artwork that May has been the source of inspiration for artists, both living and dead, and have had a chance to share those. But I thought what we would do today is instead recall what life was like when May Salinger was born 101 years ago in 1920. First of all, the population was 106 million here in the United States. The Ford Model T was the #1 selling car in the world. The top films of 1920 were The Beggar and the Prince, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Within Our Gates, and The Broken Gate. Any of these ringing a bell? They wouldn't ring a bell. They were silent. There was no sound. These were silent movies. The top movie stars of the day: Charlie Chaplin, Douglas Fairbanks. Your first boyfriend, I think, wasn't he, May? John Barrymore, Gloria Swanson, B.B. Daniels, Olive Thomas, and Mary Pickford. Summer Olympics were held in Antwerp, Belgium that year. Most importantly, in 1920, the 19th Amendment was enacted, and women got the right to vote. Almost an end to sexism in this country. The Treaty of Versailles took effect, officially ending World War I. The League of Nations held its very first meeting. The ACLU was formed. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police and Dudley Do-Right began operations. And also 1920 saw the introduction of the Negro League, because African Americans couldn't play in the white man's baseball league, so they had to form their own. The League of Women Voters was founded. The Nazi Party was founded. Montreal, Quebec began the first regular broadcast of a radio station. And later that year, KDKA of Pittsburgh, the only radio station east of the Mississippi that begins with K. We're all used to it out here. Did you know that Mississippi splits? Everything east of the Mississippi begins with W. Don't ask me why I didn't form this. And everything west of the Mississippi begins with K. Except for KDKA in Pittsburgh. They're the only radio station that begins with the letter K east of the Mississippi. Those are just some of the things taking place in 1920. 101. For those of you who know me, you know I love to dabble in gematria. Hebrew does not have a separate numerical system. Hebrew letters are Hebrew numbers, just like Roman numerals are numbers. And so Hebrew words are also Hebrew numbers. Here are some of the words whose letters add up to 101. But let's take a look at the deeper meaning of some of these words for 101. Our first word, yotze, meaning going forth or bringing forth. But in Hebrew, modern Hebrew, when you say yotze, what you're talking about is above and beyond. Yotze min haklau means exceptional. When I think of May Salinger, I think of yotze, one who is exceptional. Hamon, multitudes. May you have experienced a multitude of life's experiences during your 101 years. Pales by comparison. Absolutely wonderful. Vehamayim equals 101. And the waters. We know what that means. We're living here in Southern California during another drought. Vehamayim, the waters. This means life. Where there's water, there is life. Where there's May Salinger, there is life at 101. This word, Jaffe, we find in reference to Joseph in particular, who was described as a very beautiful. We also find it with regards to Rachel and a number of other of our biblical characters. But when I think of beauty at 101, May, you are it. You are beauty at 101. Lamale is 101. It means to be full, to be fulfilled. May, I can only imagine how full your life is at 101 with all the blessings and experiences that you have had. All right, bear with me on this one because galbanum is not something you hear all the time. v'chelbana. This is, however, one of the key essential ingredients in the spice incense that Moses had to make for the burning of the incense in the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and later in Solomon's temple. This is one of the key ingredients into this fragrant incense that was burned. And May, when I think of you, I think of you as just as spice, as incense, as a fragrance. You are the fragrance of our congregation. Nochal. And we will eat. We will eat. This captures not only the Jewish idea of what you do at birthdays, eat, but how you live life. May, we're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate beginning tonight, continuing on for the whole weekend. We're going to celebrate until you're 102, because I don't know anyone. I've never met anyone who was 101. And so I am grateful to be able to not only meet, but to celebrate with you. And so we will celebrate, which of course is all part of eating. V'haman, not Haman, Haman, who we boo at Purim, but rather man, which is manna. Manna, what sustained us during our wanderings in the wilderness. And may you are a source of sustenance for us, an inspiration for us. Michael also has the meaning of 101. Michael is the chief angel in the Jewish pantheon of angels, if you will. Armed with a sword, you don't mess with Michael, with Michael. You don't mess with May either. And lastly, and finally, Milcah. Milcah is one of the daughters of Tzlophachad. As Moses is describing how the land is going to be divided up amongst the tribes, there is one family of whom there are 5 daughters, one of whom is Milcah, who have no males in their family. They died in battle. And they did not think it was right that they should be excluded from this land division. And so they challenged Moses and were found to be correct. And so Milcah represents, standing up for your rights, for what you're entitled to have, what you're supposed to have, what you need to have to live. May I think of you with all of these words of 101. You are all of these things. You are beauty. You are Michael. You are Milcah. You are one who celebrates, who lives, and we are grateful to be able to celebrate with you, May, 101 years. And with our Cantor's help, we're going to sing one more festive song, something we all know, as our way of acknowledging May's 101 years and being able to celebrate with her this monumentous occasion. Juggling all of these things.
Yeah, and the letters of these words add up to 101 too. Hava nagila, hava nagila, hava nagila venecha. Hava nagila, hava nagila, hava nagila venecha. Hava neramena, hava neramena, hava neramena venecha. Hava neramena, hava Uruachim b'lev sameach, uruachim b'lev sameach, uruachim b'lev sameach, uruachim, uruachim b'lev sameach.
B'lev sameach, with a very happy celebratory heart, May we wish you a very, very happy birthday. Thank you for celebrating it with us. We are truly grateful to be able to celebrate it with you. We move to the conclusion of our worship service with the words of our Aleinu. The adoration can be found on page 282 in our prayer books and on the screen behind me. And as we turn or prepare for the words of our Aleinu, I invite us to rise as we are able.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, those who live on in our hearts and our minds, and in the place we call Olam Haba, the world to come. We call to mind those for whom we're observing the Shloshim, the 30 days since their death. Mark Bornstein, the husband of Flo Bornstein, Leah Levine, the sister of Janice Dezen, Vicky Emery, the sister of Mike Kritchmar, and Evelyn Levin, the mother of Marcia Bronstein. Our hearts go out to all who have suffered the death of loved ones in this immediate days. To those names, we link the names of those whose yahrzeits have occurred during this past week: Eli Eisgrau, George Popovich, Abe Lieberman, Karen Klein, B. Kreloff, Nathan Dezen, Stephen Fishman, Becky Loftschi, Carol Hilliard-Zur, Enid Malkin, Jacob Berman, Jules Braverman, Herman Streisand, Bruce L. Manning, Gerald Fagan, Ray Sherman, Alfred Sacker, Mac Cohen, Lawrence S. Held, and Sarah Sherman. To those names, we link the names for those for whom we are still observing the Kaddish period: Marlene Bilsma, Bernard Haber, Sam Ursus, Rosalie McKinsey, Hal Bruce, Hamlin Jr., Joseph Rofe, Mildred Sane, Harold Weber, Karen Copeland, Rita Silverman, Sandra Pascas, Marlene Angel, Leslie Pascas Amador, Edith Zaro, Concha Chavez, John Young, Gerald Kotkin, Ross B. Shear, Jenna Gordon, Doug Austin, Edith Cheths, Berta Ursus, Ann Phillips, and Malcolm Dipperstein. If there's a loved one whom you are remembering, I invite you to share that name at this time. To those that we have named aloud and to those that we keep named in the quiet places of our hearts and memories, we link as well the names and memories of the men and women of our armed forces who have given their lives for our liberties and our freedoms, those who have given their lives for our safety here at home, members of our police, our firefighters and other first responders, and the members of the Israeli Defense Forces who have given their lives for the hope of peace. In addition, we link as well the over 611,000 Americans who have died of COVID-19, and just this past week, the 760 Americans who died by gun violence, 28 of them children. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be a blessing and inspire us to act in this world as we continue with the words of our Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, Be'alma divrach hirute v'amlich malchute, B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, V'agalau v'zman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehei shemei Rabba mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, Shemei dekudasha berichu, Le'elam min kol birachata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechamata, Da'amiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya, V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. May all of us who mourn, and all of us who are bereaved, may we find through God's eternal presence a source of strength, courage, hope, above all a source of shalom, of peace. And let us all say, Amen. We conclude our service with the singing of those final words from the Kaddish. Oseh shalom bimromav, may the one who makes peace in the high heavens give us the strength and the courage to make peace here in this world and in our lifetime. After we conclude with the singing of Oseh Shalom, we will share in Kiddush and Motzi here, so that when you enter our social hall, you will be able to pick up a glass of juice or wine, as is your preference, and a piece of challah, and we will be able to continue with our oneg. Oseh Shalom.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol ha'olam.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone, with our Kiddush wine and later with Kiddush juice. We toast the joy of this Shabbat, the end of a week, an opportunity to come together as a community, as family, to celebrate life's special moments.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh, zecher letziat mitzrayim, ivanu v'acharta, yotanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'yava uvratzon, inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
L'chaim, Cantor. And with a bissel of challah, we are grateful to God for all that sustains us physically and nourishes us spiritually.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
B'te'avon. Bon appetit. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom, Rabbi.